Could TJ Watt be on his way to Seattle? Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones, your fearless leader, here with you. Thanks for joining us. We've had some big developments in the National Football League over the last 48 hours of some trades that have gone down, with Jalen Ramsey headed to Pittsburgh, and then Darren Waller coming out of retirement to go to Miami. And now there is a lot of focus on T.J. Watt's future and if he'll stay in Pittsburgh or if he could potentially be moved. And CBS Sports has named the Seahawks as a top trade destination for T.J. Watt. And this all comes as T.J. Watt has been in the midst of some contract negotiations that don't appear to have much progress. We'll have more on that we'll tell you about coming up in just a bit. But let's start with what CBS had to say on why the idea that T.J. Watt could be a potential fit for Seattle. Mike Macdonald is good for maximizing his defensive talent as the Seahawks head coach. And Seattle added DeMarcus Lawrence this offseason to give the pass rushing core some added depth. But this club could still use a bona fide sack artist. Its defense might go from stingy to spectacular with a talent like Watt. This landing spot would also enable the Steelers to keep Watt out of the AFC, and the Seahawks are projected to have an excess of salary cap space in the coming years thanks to their offseason shuffling. He would be, without question, a perfect fit, I think, when you're looking at adding potential pieces to this defense. He is the very best at his position and has played it at an extremely high level and would complete this Seahawks defense. But the truth of the matter, folks, is that he will not come cheap when you are talking about a potential trade to bring him in, as well as the money it would take. It would be very costly. And I think that we all have flashbacks to that Jamal Adams trade many years ago. And if you're the Seahawks, just because you have the money to do it, is it wise to do that? And that's a question that the Hawks have to ask themselves there. And we'll dive in and show you what those numbers and potential trade assets look like coming up in just a moment. Before we do, folks, I want to thank you all for helping us reach 68,000 subscribers here on Seattle Seahawks Today. It is my honor and privilege to bring you this show each and every day, my friends. And now we begin the road to a very nice number, my favorite, 69,000 subscribers. And I would love to reach that. It is going to be incredible when we reach that mark for a number of reasons, folks. So please, by all means, if you haven't already, join the family as we bring you daily Seattle Seahawks news and rumors. We also have live shows 3 days a week, breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more, all right here on your one-stop shop for all things Seattle Seahawks. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Now, according to a new report from ESPN's Adam Schefter that came out this week, Watt is not happy with his situation in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. And this contract dispute has gone on now for a couple of months, and it does not appear that there is any end in sight, which means that the Steelers trading T.J. Watt is as likely now as it's ever been before. Schefter posting this on Monday. Sources in recent weeks, multiple teams have been discussing whether they can trade for Steelers standout T.J. Watt, who skipped the team's most recent minicamp. Pittsburgh hasn't shown any willingness to deal Watt so far, but he's unhappy with his contract situation, and sources believe outside team interest is likely to increase given today's trade. And he's referencing, of course, the Jalen Ramsey trade. So with that, you have my attention that this is a very realistic possibility that T.J. Watt could be moved here. And they already moved on from George Pickens, who was not happy in Pittsburgh as well. So it wouldn't be out of the norm for Pittsburgh to move off from a player that is a key contributor to their team, like we've already seen. When you look at T.J. Watt, there's no question about it. He is a generational talent. He is one of the best players that we have seen on the defensive side of the ball in recent memory. And I think he's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. I would go as far to say that he's even better than his brother JJ was, and his brother was phenomenal. I think that they are the best brother combination that we've seen in the history of the National Football League. They are both that good, and TJ is even better than JJ, in my humble opinion. With that said, though, not only is it expensive, when we talk about the parameters it would take to make a trade here with the financial terms and the trade assets, he's already 30 years old, and he's not getting any younger here. So with that said, we're going to show you a trade idea here in just a second, but we want to hear from you guys. Weigh in our pinned comment today. Should the Seahawks trade for T.J. Watt? You got two options here. Type T for trade, P for pass. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in and let us know what you think, if they should make a trade for T.J. Watt or not. Here is what we are looking at, and I think this is, right now, the best-case scenario of the cheapest deal that Pittsburgh would take for T.J. Watt. This is not a recommendation, just being realistic here. I think Pittsburgh is looking for a first-round pick and a third-round pick in exchange for T.J. Watt. And let's be honest, that is a steep price to pay when it comes to making a trade there. And then on top of that, it's not just the trade assets of giving up a first and a third. You still have to pay him too. And it is a lot of money that T.J. Watt is going to be looking for in his next contract. The projection that we have for T.J. Watt right now is about a 4-year, $160 million deal with $130 million guaranteed. Now, Seattle does have plenty of money at their disposal. The question is not whether they can afford T.J. Watt or not. They can do so. They have plenty of cap space right now and plenty of cap space in the future. But I simply cannot justify spending that type of money and giving up that much capital to bring in a 30-year-old pass rusher at this point in time, especially when I have other options out there that we'll talk about here in a moment that would not cost me as much on the trade market, and I would not have to pay as much money, and I could still get some really good production if I want to make a move. We'll tell you who that is. You probably know who I'm referencing in just a moment. This is, for the record, not a knock on T.J. Watt's talent whatsoever. I think T.J. Watt is phenomenal. Two things can be true here, folks. We can sit here today and we can acknowledge that T.J. Watt is an incredible football player and that he would be a great fit on this Seattle Seahawks team. That can be true, but also on the flip side of things, you can say to yourself, at what cost? That it's simply not worth it, that it's just too much to bring in. Now, if things go on down the line and T.J. Watt makes it very clear that he's unhappy with Pittsburgh and this drags on, then in theory, the asking price to make a trade could go down, and maybe we could have that discussion. But at least for right now, it's a bit too high. The resume for T.J. Watt, outstanding. Former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, a 4-time first-team All-Pro as recently as 2023, a 7-time Pro Bowler as recently as 2024. He is also the NFL record holder for most sacks in a single season with 22 and a half. He set that in 2021, the same season that he was named the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. The production for T.J. Watt, you can see, has been off the charts. He was banged up a little bit in 2022, but still managed to have 5.5 sacks that season. Then in 2023, 19 total sacks, a good bounce-back season for him, along with 36 QB hits and 4 forced fumbles. This past season, his numbers were down slightly, as in 17 games played, he had 11.5 sacks, 27 QB hits, and 6 forced fumbles. So that, folks, although the numbers were very good this past season, could that signal that we've already seen the best of T.J. Watt at this point in his career? I think he's still playing very well, don't get me wrong, but are the days of him having 15-plus sacks seasons behind us already potentially? That's also something that you have to consider. Bottom line, if I'm the Seattle Seahawks and I'm looking to trade for a pass rusher, for me, I'd rather spend less on Trey Hendrickson. In all likelihood, I don't have to give up a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. I don't have to pay him nearly as much money as I do TJ Watt. To me, that makes more sense. And he's the same age, and he had a better season than TJ Watt did last year. So to me, that one makes more sense if you are going to trade for a pass rusher that is on the market right now. Let's ask you now. If you had to pick one to trade for, would you rather trade for TJ Watt or would you rather trade for Trey Hendrickson? Type TJ for TJ Watt. Type TH for Trey Hendrickson. Way in the comments section, let us know which one you would choose. Folks, we got a great deal we're offering right now. We have Nike Seahawks t-shirts on sale for $15.99. That's right. Just $15.99 is all that it costs, folks. At chatsports.com/CeelXT is where you get yours today. It's getting hotter. You need some t-shirts. You want to represent your favorite team. And it's not very often we're talking about cheap Nike gear, folks. Get yours now. Chatsports.com/CeelXT to get yours today. We also have other Seahawks merchandise available at that same link. Go see for yourself now. Chatsports.com/CeelXT to get yours now. Some final thoughts on all this. I, for one, am hopeful that there is one more big move on the way. And Seattle, already at the corner position, said no to Jair Alexander and to Jalen Ramsey, and they went with Shaq Griffin. And the thing that I had told you on this show was that if this is a decision of where to invest between corner and edge to spend more money on, edge is the one that made more sense, that you could go with a Shaq Griffin or Rasul Douglas to compete with Josh Jobe and then spend your big cash on an edge potentially. And if you do so, whether it's a TJ Watt or a Trey Hendrickson, you're talking about this defense being lethal. And I think Seattle's defense is already well on track to be a really good unit in 2025. In the second half of last year, they were a top 5 defense as is. Now you add DeMarcus Lawrence to the equation. You're another year older with some of your young players here. I think you're in good shape, but you can be maybe the best of the best in the NFL if you add in a player of Hendrickson or Watt's caliber. And not to mention, you're going to put yourself in position to win a lot of games. And I know that there's question marks about this Seattle team offensively with the lack thereof when it comes to receivers beyond JSN and Cooper Kupp. The question marks on the offensive line. Well, here's the deal. If you have a defense that's that good, you're not going to be asking a ton from your offense. You can win some 17-10 football games here and be in good shape. And I think the offense is going to be better than what most people are giving credit for. So with that said, make a move here, one big move, and I think we're talking about Seattle reaching contender status. They are that close, folks. Appreciate you joining us here on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.